my friends. Welcome to Child Life on Call. This podcast is a safe place for parents to share their stories about what it's like to have a child that has a medical experience, diagnosis, disease, and or everything in between. We know there's power in sharing stories, and that power multiplies when you can listen to other parents who have walked a similar path to yours. Giving and getting advice is great, but hearing how another parent navigates the complexities and nuances of healthcare is even better. As a child life specialist, my role is to support, validate, and provide emotionally safe spaces for kids and their families, and I am so honored to be on this journey with you. In addition to parent stories, we sprinkle in some expert episodes every now and again that have content for both parents and professionals in the field of healthcare, all with the mission to empower parents to be confident advocates and partners with the care team during healthcare experiences. We're so glad you're here. Hello, my friends. Happy New Year. We have made it to 2023, which is just an achievement in itself. And we are kicking off the Child Life on Call podcast with a little bit of a different episode. I am solo today, so there's no parent interview. So if you are sick of the way my voice sounds, now is your time to just get out of here. But if you're okay with listening to my sharp S's and me just hang out here in my office by myself talking about grandparents, then stick around for a little bit. I promise not to take up too much of your time. You know, just over the past couple of months, we've had so much family time, right? We've just been around grandparents a ton, aunts, uncles. It's fabulous. But there can be hard conversations that you have with the parents or the kids or the grandparents and just all sorts of weird ways. So we thought we would come in, our little team at Child Life on Call, and just create this podcast episode as a guide for how grandparents can play the very essential and important role of supporting a family when they are going through illness, hospitalizations, medical therapy appointments, whatever it may be, because there is such an important part and role that grandparents can play. And so we'll just go through a few common things today. Stick around for the end of the episode because I'm going to tell you exactly how you can actually download this for free and send it to grandparents in your lives or share it with those. And the guide that we have is going to be in English and Spanish and is available now. So it also lives on the Child Life on Call app. So without getting started, I just want to recognize that I myself am not a grandparent and I have healthy kiddos who do not require a lot of coordinating schedules with therapies and doctor's appointments, and I'm so lucky in that way. But I have worked in the hospital for over a decade, and I can tell you when that family system comes together where parents and grandparents are really in tune, and this even happens when grandparents don't live in the same zip code, right? They live far away. But when that family system is supported and knows their roles and is working really well, man, the whole experience changes, not just for the patient and the family, but I swear the care team feels like, yeah, this is a system that's working and this is the best thing for the child. So I do want to start with that caveat and saying it doesn't actually matter where you live, whether you're near or far, or you're, in your grandchild's life every single day, or you're not. There is absolutely a role to play. The other thing I want to acknowledge that I realized when I became a mother was that when your child is hurting, your heart is in a million pieces. So I can only imagine, and my mother and dad tell me this all the time, when my child is sick, their heart breaks twice, right? Because they're upset for their grandchild that they're sick, and then they're upset for me for having to deal with all of the things. And so we just wanted to give grandparents some practical but productive ways to interact with that nuclear family when they're going through something difficult. So let's get started with one of the big questions we hear a lot. When is it okay to ask questions about my grandchild's diagnosis and find out more information? Whew, this is a big one, right? Because you as the grandparent are so hungry for information, but it just may not be the right time. The parent is processing a lot, the child is processing a lot. So how do you know when it's okay to ask questions? So when you're finding out about your grandchild's diagnosis for the first time, you are upset, you're having a difficult time. It's normal, totally normal to want to ask a ton of questions and find out as much as you can about what's going on. So what I would do is I think it would be best to ask your child what information they know and if it's a good time for you to come and ask questions. And you can say, we don't have to talk for long, but could you just give me a brief overview, whether it's through text or email or a quick phone call? And then, I just want to let you know that I'm here, but this is kind of my first step into this and, what's going on. And it's really not a time for grandparents to share their experiences about what they've heard or a friend of a friend who's gone something. This initial conversation is not the right time for those stories, but you could say something like, I know you guys are going through a lot. I'm here when you're ready to talk. And I just want to let you know I love you so much. And so you're just kind of starting off the conversation saying, hey, I'm here. I'm not going to push anything on you. I don't want to ask too many questions, but I am interested and I do want to be involved as much as I can be. Sometimes parents themselves may be still processing. And so if you are hit with that brick wall, the reason for that is that they are also going through a difficult time and may not be sure how to articulate it themselves and don't want to fumble over their words. So after you've kind of laid this foundation of I love you, I'm here, I want to be useful to you all, I want to be there for you all, you can let your child and grandchild come to you when they're ready. And a little check-in, whether it's daily or weekly or whatever your normal is totally okay as long as you're okay with not getting a response in return. So as long as grandparents, you set your expectations that you're okay with not getting a big response, you just let them know that you're there and you're ready. I think that's a great second step. Okay, and if you're thinking, oh my gosh, that is going to be so hard. How am I supposed to just sit here and wait? That's a normal reaction. You're not alone. Consider how though you would feel in this situation. So if you can take your back when you had a young family, you may have wanted space or support or unconditional love. And when you get those three things from the people you love the most, that's when they start to come back and be there for you. If you think it's appropriate, you can ask your child too, the parent, if you can go to a doctor's visit with them to learn more. And then that way your child isn't the one who's having to tell you all the medical information, but you can have a chance to talk with the doctor specifically. So the third thing to do, and I know, so we've started the conversation just being really open. Second, you've let your grandchild and child come to you when they're ready. Third, what I want you to do is write down your questions because you may have questions that come to the surface and you may get answers and come up with new questions too. So if you have like a running list or a tab of what your questions are, just keep them close by. And so that way, when you do have an opportunity, you're not just kind of going over the same thing over and over, and then you're not actually getting your questions answered. So start with those, start with just writing your questions down. The next question we get is, how can I be an advocate for myself and my child's family during this time? So it can be really difficult to know when the time to put the grandparent hat on, when the time to put the parent hat on is. So we went straight to the source. We went to criticallylove.org. They have a grandparent corner. And we looked at some of the things that grandparents are already saying to each other in this community to answer this question. Tips that other grandparents have said is have open communication and ask when it is okay to ask questions. Number 2, be a good listener for your child and grandchild. And 3, let your child make the healthcare decisions for their child. So I think what other grandparents are saying is that open kind of step back, peripheral support is so necessary. And then when your child is saying, hey, I need you, you're able to step right in and just be there for them. Another question we can answer for you here today: which areas can I be most helpful for my child and grandchild? Sitting down with your child and finding out what their needs are and what their wants are is a great start. So this is also a way for you to open up the communication without, asking too much of them. You can, instead of saying, what's going on? What's happening next? When is the next medication? How many times are they getting it? Just taking a step back and saying, hey, What are some things I can take off your lap right now? Can I go grocery store shopping for you? Can I help pick up other kids from school? Can I send you a Grubhub card, to have you guys get meals if you don't live close by? Just start thinking about how can you be most helpful so that your child can focus on their child who is going through the difficult time. You can offer to make and prep meals. You can offer transport, cleaning and laundry. Oh my goodness, small house duties, go grocery shopping. And also, if you're going to be traveling in from out of town, you want to make sure that if you are staying or asking to stay with your immediate family, that is okay with them and that you're not an extra thing for them to have to take care of during this time. Sometimes it may be really helpful, right? If they have dogs and pets and they're having to spend the night at the hospital and you can be there to let them out. But other times it may be more useful if you can find a friend or family to stay with or stay in a hotel for a couple of nights so that the family can just kind of live as they normally do. So that's an open conversation. And no matter what choice that your child and grandchild make as a family, it doesn't have to do with how much they love you, but what they're able to handle at this current time. The last question we're going to cover today are, where are resources that I can start with to provide to my child and grandchild? So there are networks of grandparents out there that want to support you because they are going through such similar circumstances. And then this can also give you something to participate in. So some things that you can do, right? You can get permission from your child and grandchild. You can start a Caring Bridge planner. It's a virtual planner to schedule transport doctor appointments, coordinate grocery and meal delivery, arrange childcare, take care of pets. It basically is a whole virtual planner for families. You could start a GoFundMe page if you get the permission from the child and family. So you can say, hey, if you guys are going to have trouble with medical bills, maybe this is a role that I can play. The other thing you can do is a meal train. Mealtrain.org is a place where you can go set up a meal train. And so their neighbors and friends can come bring them meals. When I am advocating for this, I am always saying, make sure the family knows they can put a cooler on their porch and have meals dropped off at a specific time. So that way they're not waiting on dinner and they don't have to interact with the people who are being so kind and generous to bring over food. Having a chronically ill grandchild can be really stressful, and I just want grandparents to know that they have an important role when it comes to not only their grandchild, but their child's life, and that you're a valuable support system. The research shows, we've got plenty of research here in our guide that you can download, but please just know that your role is important. And we are so grateful that you are interested enough to listen to this podcast, download the free guide so that you can continue to support and love on your family. If you would like to get access to our free grandparents guide, you can do that by going to childlifeoncall.com/grandparents. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this solo episode. I really enjoyed kind of getting into some really specific tools and strategies to reinforce the importance of the family system and how Child Life Services can play a part. So if you'd like more of these, please let me know. But otherwise, I will see you here next week for another parent story. Next week in episode 151, we will be talking with Gavin and Cindy, who come from Ryan's Case for Smiles. Their son had osteosarcoma growing up, and they share what it's been like, not only during that time, but now almost 20 years later, and thousands of pillowcases donated to children around the country later. It was such a special conversation. Gavin reminded me so much of my dad. Cindy reminded me so much of my mom and just the way that their partnership worked. And so I hope you enjoyed that episode. All right, guys, talk to you soon.